But that's a conversation for another day. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, everyone. Returners Hideout number... Oh my god, no, it's not. It's twice I've done that. To Wizarding Wars. Number 22, guys. We are here to play some Harry Potter trading card game. We've got 5 players coming out tonight to jam in revival format. And let's jump right into it. I'm sure the players have already gotten started. Let's see who's here hanging out tonight. Oh, Tyler and Cody already stopping by. Cody, nice to see you. Love those Clave emotes in chat. Those are Zeal emotes, actually. Oh, those are your own emotes. Even better. Are we stopping Snape from getting that stone or not? Well, the strongest Snape card is banned in this format, but you know, I'm sure we'll still see some Snape. All right, let's jump into this game and see what's going on. I'm a little bit late to get to the tables here with our players. This looks like it is Sammy versus Morel. So let's go ahead and get our here. I give my prime to you instead of Clave these days. Damn, dude, that's I feel like extremely honored for that. Dude, Clave is one of the people I'm happy to, like, you know, actually sub to. Let's see, Morel versus Sammy D. Oh my god, Cody. I have the stuff turned off. Oh my goodness, I'll put it on for you. I'll get it up there for you. Oh, there we go. Tyler's got the Clave. Dude, he had such a bad run. I mean, he had a great run last night, but just the fact that carry armor keeps getting him is so ridiculous. All right, anyway, guys, we are here for Harry Potter tonight, so we're going to talk about that. I know you always do it during the Harry Potter streams. I actually was thinking earlier today, like, I really need to actually add the alert box to the Harry Potter stream. All right, so what do we got here tonight? I haven't even looked at the decks. Let's look under the hood. Looks like we have got a Professor Phileas Flitwick deck, Charms, Transfiguration, and also Care Magical Creatures, it looks like, against Sammy's deck, which is a Lockhart, Transfiguration, and Quidditch deck. Lockhart does work well with Transfiguration, of course, because that's where Lockhart's office is, and some of those other combo pieces. And Lockhart is very much a, you know, getting more out of doing something you're already trying to do type card. So here we're just trying to squeeze a little bit of value out of these discard effects, things like the Beater's Bat, and discard a card from our hand to deal damage to our opponent, and then get the additional discard from Lockhart at the end of the turn. I know, Cody, you think that was kind of funny, huh? Dude, I'm almost always, that's how I end my night. I crawl into bed with the old FF7 speed runs. Normally the 6 runners are done by then. Flitwick is about to get obliviated. We'll see. Flitwick is pretty damn good at charms himself, you know? He's like the charms guy. But Lockhart is quite good at memory charms. Quite good indeed. Another Cornish Pixie coming down. This is actually this is a hell of a flavor win here, as these Pixies are absolutely terrorizing Lockhart. Another Cornish Pixie is going to come down and take another card out of his hand. So Cornish Pixie, this is a card that you Final Fantasy players will be familiar with. This kind of effect. When you play this card, you get to look at your opponent's hand and you get to take a card and basically put it underneath Cornish Pixie. And then when Cornish Pixie leaves the field, they get it back. But obviously the plan is, you know, they don't really get it back, or you mess things up enough for them that by the time they get it back, you've already gotten plenty out of this, messing up their game plan. It's really the only effect that, like, takes a card away from them. There are other cards that look at their hand and get rid of a card, but they always go into their discard pile where they can kind of access it. This is interesting because it essentially removes it from them. Lonnie, yeah, not quite. Because they don't get to use the effect, they just like steal it, so they can't use it. Hot! This looks like a World of Warcraft card. Choose one of your opponent's cards in play and discard it. Your opponent can prevent it by choosing 4 cards in their hand and discarding them, except not if they don't have enough cards in their hand. So yeah, it just works. Since obviously the idea here His morale's attacking the hand with things like the Cornish Pixies, and then he's going to use spells like Caught, and his opponent won't be able to pay this cost, so his opponent won't be able to stop it. This just becomes removal for 6 there. Fouled, probably the strongest Quidditch card. Deal 4 damage to your opponent, and during their next turn, they get 1 fewer action. Oh, I didn't even know they did actually change all these cards so that they face the right way. Look at that. That's awesome. Thank you, whoever did that. It's only been, you know, a million years that we've been looking at these cards upside down and sideways. Give him the old broomstick cross check. Exactly, dude. You foul them, and, you know, they lose an action. There's not even a repercussion for causing a blatant foul. Much like, actually, it seems, Quidditch is played in the show. Everyone calling it the show is inaccurate. No, that little Harry Potter cartoon. You know the one. You know the little show. I got no idea where I put this. Pad from work. Anyway, I'm hopeful for the new game whenever it shows up. Oh yeah, man, I am excited for that. If someone made a good Quidditch game on par with FIFA, I would dish out some dough. Dude, so do you know that there was so first of all, there's a Quidditch World Cup game for Game Boy Advance. It's actually incredible. And I had always wished that they had made that game like on a not Game Boy Advance. Quidditch World Cup game is so good. But also there was a game that was essentially Rocket League but on brooms. And then they got like a cease and desist because it was like too similar to Quidditch, I guess. But that game was the bee's knees for like a week. Really though, right? It's like, it's shocking that there isn't a good Quidditch game or like a blitzball game. These sports, you have all the carte blanche you want. They're sports that are made for video games, you know? The whole Harry Potter GBA lineup was gold. Yeah, dude, you gotta get what, you're like Sorcerer's Stone, like Game Boy game or whatever. God, I probably should have been paying more attention to the game there, right? Looks like Sammy did something and then everything got reset, so I don't know if he won that game or if that was just his final play and then he said, okay, I give up, let's go to the next game. I got too excited talking to you guys. It's always how it is, isn't it? We're here to hang out and enjoy Harry Potter, and those things don't always have to be, you know, directly related. I had the Sorcerer's Stone on PS1, Nightmare Fuel. Dude, I had the Sorcerer's Stone on PC, bro. In fact, I have the disc behind me. Like, within arm's reach. I could produce the disc for you. Well, that's because I'm moving soon, so I've just been like cleaning up and organizing everything. Normally, I don't just have this disc within arm's reach of me. The PS1 version of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was still better than the Square Enix E3. Yeah, I mean, that's a low bar though, right? Chaos! I'm here to destroy chaos, guys. It's a, it's a thirst, the hunger. Yeah, they're like Final Fantasy 15 character creation rejects. It's like they're from like the pile of discarded Gladios, Promptos, and Ignis. Is where the main characters come from. They were like, yeah, you can keep any of these designs, dude. These are just left over. And they were like, whoo, just start picking through the pile. Free models, let's go. Exactly. All right, guys, I'm gonna do my best to do like a commentary on this round. All right, so Quidditch Through the Ages. This is the Quidditch book that came out in the Diagon Alley set. Of course, it is focused on the items and books. Basically, just providing us a Quidditch lesson, but also has that added extra thing we can use in action to discard it and draw 3 cards. Looks like we'll be doing that right now. It is kind of like X-Ray, yeah. Yeah, it costs 2 to play it to begin with, so it's almost, yeah, it's essentially like X-Ray because you have to get to your 3rd action. Alright, but yeah, so we're actually getting to see Sammy's hand this game, and we can see he's doing like a control Quidditch and Transfiguration. The thing with Quidditch is vastly underpowered. Like in Classic, Quidditch is almost never played at a high level. Because it's just not strong enough. It was like the type they added to the game after the others, and so like it kind of struggles to have an identity that's relevant enough. However, in Revival, not only did they kneecap some of the strongest strategies from the other colors, but they also printed a few more Quidditch cards that were supposed to give it a little bump. So Quidditch is one of those deck types that people are really trying to prove can be relevant, and that it can kind of, hang here with the other decks. You guys like my Harry Potter theme music? Looks like Morel is also revealing his hand to me. Thank you. We can see, yes, of course, he's doing this 3-color Flitwick stuff. The cool thing about 3 colors in Harry Potter is you really only have to play two lesson types, because your starting character provides you one of the lesson types, so you don't have to really play any charms lessons. So playing a lesson is 1 action, and playing anything else is another action. Okay, so every turn, the game default gives you 2 actions. And you can use 1 action to play a lesson, a spell, an item, a location. And you can use 2, and a match, sorry, I knew there was one I was forgetting. And you can use 2 actions to play an additional character. So see how Seamus Finnegan is on the table, but he's not our starting character. So 2 actions to play an additional character or an adventure card. There are no examples of adventure cards on the table right now, but those are more powerful, so they require 2 actions. Obviously, getting more than 2 actions is really, really good. And taking actions away from your opponent is very, very strong. When you're basically always given an allowance for like what you can afford to do on any given turn, messing with those numbers is very powerful. So we see one of the strongest characters in the game, Seamus Finnegan, here on Sammy's side of the field. Seamus Finnegan, he has a 2-action investment for you to even get him into play, right? But his ability is that once during each of your turns, you can discard 2 cards from your hand to get 1 more action. So that's actually pretty gross, because just gaining a 3rd action every turn is very strong. Now it's supposed to be balanced out, and the drawback here, right, is that you have to have 2 cards to discard, and really there's not a lot of card advantage that gives you a lot of cards at once in the Harry Potter trading card game. There was a card that was very good at doing it, and it got banned in Revival. So Ginny Weasley, too strong. But there are some ways that you can get yourself some additional draw and really like fuel the Seamus fire here. And he is an engine that'll just keep on chugging and give you an incredible action advantage over your opponent. Oh, and the other thing that you can do, if you want, you can always use one action to draw a card. So we'll see that on Morel's turn here. Even though he's got all these cards in his hand, he's really desperate for a 5th lesson, and he just didn't have the ability to actually play any of these cards until he hit a 5th lesson in his hand. So he did spend his first action to draw an extra card, and then he used his second action to play one of the lessons that he drew. Now, one of the reasons that we're playing Seamus in our deck here on Sammy's deck is because Lockhart's ability, and this is Lockhart is his starting wizard, so it can't be like removed or anything like that. He's just always in play. It's like Commander, right? Actually, I don't know that that's how Commander works at all. So ignore what I just said. I don't know anything about Magic. Gilderoy Lockhart. At the end of each player's turn, if you have discarded a card from your hand, choose an opponent and they discard a card from their hand. So basically, we're going to use Seamus's ability by discarding 2 cards, and that will trigger Lockhart, so our opponent will also have to discard a card at the end of our turn. Beater's Bat is another thing we have in our deck here. That's another way that we can use Gilderoy's ability proactively. We can use an action to discard a card from our hand to do 2 damage to our opponent with the Beater's Bat. I don't really like the Beater's Bat because I get it. We're trying to discard a card so that Gilderoy does the thing, right? But the Beater's Bat costs a card for us to, or an action, sorry, for us to play, and then another action to discard a card, and we only deal 2 damage. It is a very, very high cost for 2 damage. I mean, that's what we're seeing. Sammy's entire turn is like using 1 Beater's Bat to deal 2 damage. But we're nickel and diming our opponent out enough that it might just be worth it. I'll tell you what though, getting that 1 discard, like pitching our hand to trigger the discard here, not very strong when our opponent is sitting there with more than 7 cards in their hand, just like unable to play cards. They just have so many damn cards in their hand, you know. Next turn we're probably, I would be surprised if we didn't just drop both of the cards that we drew off the top into the Beater's Bat. And actually, we might have to commit to that strategy here as picking on Neville comes down. We dumped our hand to deal 2 damage? Yeah. Well, so, you know, technically, we dumped our hand to deal 2 damage, make our opponent discard a card, and theoretically have something on the board that let us continue. I didn't stay in play, right? Let us continue to deal 2 damage to our opponent every turn. But the kicker there was our opponent has removed 2 of our Beater's Bats. So we actually have not had a recurring way. We've spent 2 actions twice and discarded a card twice to deal 2 damage in each of those times. So it's 4 damage total we've done with bats. But we've really gotten rid of like 4 cards. And again, technically, you know, we're also making our opponent discard a card because of Lockhart's ability. But our opponent is just sitting there with a loaded grip, right? We need just more to do. We had a lot of advantage. Our opponent skipped like 2 turns looking for something to do. We had a lot of action advantage on them. We just didn't really use it effectively. And that has a lot to do with what we saw in our hand and like a little bit to do with what we're trying to do with the deck. I think we're maybe trying too many different things to turn on Lockhart. Because really, once Seamus is out, we have everything that we need to activate this every turn, and we want to use this every turn. So then the problem to solve goes from being, hey, I need to find a way to discard that benefits me, and the new problem to solve is I need to make sure I have cards to use Seamus. And we just don't have that here, and these colors especially don't do a whole lot to help us, you know, always have a lot of cards in our hand. There are some Quidditch cards that draw you a lot of cards, but you know, I'm not seeing too many of them here. Bucking Broomstick is just a pipe dream. We're not getting to 7, right? And you can see the theme here between triggering Lockhart and things like the Bucking Broomstick. We really want to be attacking our opponent's hand and bringing them down to no resources, but it's not working out so well for us, at least in this game. Our opponent slowly catching up to that 2 damage that we were able to do with the Beater's Bats, right? Just by having this Cornish Pixie in play. At the beginning of the opponent's turn, every turn we're taking 1 damage from the Cornish Pixie, and now we're taking 1 damage from Hedwig. So he's actually passively doing 2 damage with no additional investment. And it's pretty much a direct comparison to show how inefficient the Beater's Bat was for us. Table Trouble is coming down, and we're going to be discarding all items from play. That's going to go ahead and just... It doesn't hurt us at all, but it's going to scoop off... Added 1 more Beater's Bat. So we got to, like, our 3rd or 4th Beater's Bat. Got rid of it. How does the character rule work if both players have the same starting wizard? You just can play the game with... Obviously, you're allowed to have the same starting wizard. That is the only scenario in the entire game where you can have, like, the 2 of the same character in play. The only exception. But what's kind of cool is, like, if we have this guy out, our opponent can't play him. And if we start with this character, our opponent not only can't play him, but our opponent can never do anything about, like, not being able to play him. You know what I mean? So, in Classic, the strongest deck is Ron, and Ron really, really abuses Jameis and Ginny. But you can actually pretty effectively build a deck that counters Ron by starting with Seamus or Ginny and playing a lot of the same characters as Ron, and just taking kind of like a different path to doing the same thing. And it actually works very well, because you basically can choose to either always have the draw engine or always have the action engine, and just fight them for the other one, versus them having that here. Oh, see, look, we did turn the notifications back on, as the Pirate Bay coming in here, subbing with Prime. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you, Clint. You're absolutely, you know, one of the faves. I see you boys have been playing RDO. I have never played Red Dead 2 or Red Dead Online. Should I be doing that? Should I be downloading that? It's probably like 1 billion gigabytes, right? Is it like a 4-man squad? We'll find out. Or maybe he's got me muted because he's just being a nice friend and dropping the Prime. I'll tell you, that's a guy right there, friends, where, you know, sometimes you just meet people online and then they become just like lifelong friends, man. You can have a large posse. Oh, I kind of am down to be in a large posse. Yeah, I've always known that about it. I just felt like I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, I feel like I totally understand it, and maybe that's the reason I, like, am not curious enough to play it. Like, oh, I totally get exactly what it is. I just have to, if I played it, I'm sure I'd enjoy it. I just have, there's like no curiosity. But the online is free, right? All right. I think that's it for those guys. So Morel taking both of those games. One thing to talk about when it came down here was that at the end of that game, Morel played Welsh Green Dragon. Welsh Green Dragon is maybe the strongest creature as far as like value in the game. Welsh Green Dragon is a 7-cost paramagical creature that comes down, and when he enters the field, he deals 6 damage to your opponent. So you guys from Final Fantasy, or really any other card game, know, enter the field, very powerful effects because you get the value right away. So it comes in and he deals 6 damage to their face, and then every turn he deals 6 damage, and that's it's nothing to shake a stick at. It's 10% of their health on the way in and 10% every turn of their like maximum health. I'm excited for Sea of Thieves next week. Dude, Sea of Thieves is, I've also never played that one, but that seems like a good time. Sounds like Paul. I mean, yeah, it's you know, it costs way more than Paul. It's like way more of a late game thing than Paul is. He's like your top end for creatures. He basically puts the game on a clock like Paul does, though, where he says like, hey, this is now, like this is happening so fast that you have like 3 turns to figure it out. I've got this new Untap format. They have like an update, and I'm in the beta for their new UI, and it's basically just their UI rotated. Kind of funny. All right, this is table 2 here. We've got the Dark Mark's own Frank D playing on the top, versus our new player Carter playing this week on the bottom. Frank looks like he is playing McGonagall. And is his opponent also playing McGonagall? I think so. So actually, Tyler, here's the example, right? This is Frank and Carter here are both playing Professor McGonagall. Probably like top 2 or top 3, easily one of the most popular and one of the strongest starting characters. Was not hit by any of the bans from Classic into Revival, so just really, really cemented at the top here. Professor McGonagall is strong for 2 reasons. One, she has a once per game ability that lets you discard the adventure your opponent has played. Does not require an action. And one of the reasons that's huge is adventures usually really lock the game down. Like here's one right now. In the Stands. The effect of this adventure being in play for Carter is that Frank can't play creature cards, right? And in order to get out of that so that he can play them again, Frank needs to solve the adventure. And to solve this, he would have to choose 4 creatures in his hand and discard them, right? And then basically he would get some reward, and the board was reset before I could read the reward to you. But so you spend 2 actions to kind of put your opponent like, okay, you have to now solve this puzzle before you can do anything else, and or you're gonna have to play the game under this condition, right? And McGonagall's powerful because she can just say, yeah, actually, I'm just gonna get out of that. I'm not gonna pay that cost. I'm not gonna have to solve that puzzle. And she's the only thing you can do in the game that your opponent can't like get rid of before they play the adventure, right? Because they might play, there's like an item that can get you out of the adventure, but I could just say, oh, I'm gonna return that item to your hand, and boom, then play the adventure that stops you from like playing the items, you know? Oh, they closed this game. I think this game is done. So McGonagall also provides a transfiguration lesson. Remember what I said earlier, all you need is you need 1 of the proper color, just like paying for a character in Final Fantasy. You don't need 7 ICP, right? You need 1 ICP and 7 total CP to play 7 CP Sephiroth. In order to play a 5 or 6 cost transfiguration card, you just need to technically have a transfiguration lesson. And as long as McGonagall is here, is your starter, she's providing you one of those. And that means you technically don't have to play any transfiguration lessons in your whole deck, right? Because you'll always have 1. In Revival, however, they did make 2 cards, exactly 2 cards, that could turn off the abilities of your opponent's starting character, which had always kind of been like a sacred, untouchable spot. So she was like, 100% you don't need to play transfiguration lessons. But you'll see that they are kind of sprinkled into these decks still, just in case. And maybe even sideboarded in some situations in Revival, just so that people don't get totally shut out of Transfiguration if McGonagall gets turned off. But she is a very powerful starting witch, because just 2 extremely strong effects that are truly stronger than the equivalents on cards like Flitwick. Alright, so we've got both of these games in here. Let's go ahead and get the next round paired for the players. We had Morel take it 2-0 and Frank take it 2-0, as well as Michael, of course, take it 2-0 against the bye. Save our result here. Okay. We wrap that round up pretty timely. Time's gonna begin at 7:50 and end at 8:40. Maybe 45. Actually, maybe I did make that 50 and give somebody time to go to like the restroom or something. You know what I mean? Sorry, I got hit you guys with the Windows error sound. You know what I should do is I should just mute. Alright, these tables are up, these games are up, the players are popping into the games. There's the Dobby lobby. I think that's where we're gonna go. Actually, we don't know what Elvis is playing yet. What should we watch? We barely got to watch any of Frank's game. We also don't know what Mike's playing yet. I say let's see what Mike's playing. Wow, looks like he is playing Hooch. So earlier I was talking about how you know, players are trying to make a point with Quidditch. They want to make it work. And Mike is, no different here. Starting with Madame Rolanda Hooch, who is supposed to be the equivalent of Professor McGonagall. But here's the situation. Professor McGonagall splashes Transfiguration. Transfiguration is probably the best splashable color because it's all removal. And there's a lot of... There's like Search, there's Removal, and it also has the best attack spell in the game for creatures, even though it's Transfiguration for some reason. So she works really well in creatures decks and in other decks, which is what we saw earlier were creature decks. Whereas Hooch's ability is once per game you can search your deck and take a broom and show it to your opponent and put it in your hand. So McGonagall almost always helps you cheat actions when you use her ability, right? Because you're getting out of an adventure that you would have to somehow invest into solving. Whereas Hooch she says, yeah, you go get a broom and put it in your hand. And she doesn't even play it on the field or anything like that. Like, you still have to, nice that she doesn't require the action, but you have to use the action to go play the broom. And almost every broom in the game is like a turn one setup, like kind of one shot thing. After that, they just provide Quidditch power. So it's like, it's kind of good for like a really strong quote unquote turn 1 or 2. But after that, she just really doesn't do much beyond providing you with a Quidditch lesson. Whereas McGonagall's ability is going to be used to like get you out of an adventure that's stopping you from winning the game, right? So just those two things compared to each other, McGonagall is more universally powerful. But it is possible that Hooch could be more situationally powerful. So she does have that benefit, though, of starting you off at 1 lesson. And you see that we also have Flitwick down here. Players really like these professors with good reason. You want to not have to spend actions to play lessons if at all possible, but you're always going to have to build that mana base. You're always going to have to ramp up, right? So they're studying up here and building up all these lessons. But we're actually able to get to a 5 lesson curve by dumping lessons on the first 2 turns because we have that extra lesson provided by our starting character. So we're going to be throwing these ouches and Slytherin steals starting as early as next turn. We're trying to ramp as fast as our opponent here on Morel's side. Both of these guys having 5, like a double 5-drop play and having the 4 lessons to slam down on their first 2 turns. But this is where going first is really going to help Mike here. Mike is the ability to just play these before his opponent gets to play the Stream of Flames. And Slytherin Steals is going to make us get rid of one of our lessons. That's pretty strong. Yep, so sure enough, we're going to play Slytherin Steals. Slytherin Steals is going to make our opponent discard one of their cards in play. And also take 2 damage. Do you use the mana, or can you do 2 different 5-cost spells? No, yeah, it's like a threshold, so once you get to 5, you can just cast 2 different 5-cost spells. The only thing that a spell costs you is an action. Yeah, like actions are the resource, right? Lessons just allow you to do higher powered things. It's like energy on a Pokemon, right? I guess there are some like fire guys discard the energies to do stuff, but for the most part, like you just keep powering up, then you can do the stronger and stronger stuff. So Elvis is actually going to use Hooch's ability here a couple turns in. Maybe you just saw that perfect curve to 5 and wanted to just do that first. We're going to go and search a broom now. I'm trying to think of the brooms that aren't just the little guys who actually cost a bit that you'd want to get later. Yeah, the Comet 260, okay. So Comet 260 is interesting. This is, this broom is going to prevent 1 damage done to you during each turn, like during your opponent's turn. So basically, anytime that they do something, let's say it's like 3 damage, they're going to make it only 2 damage instead. Quidditch is kind of like Mono Ice, it feels. Get ahead early and keep your opponent in top deck mode. Yeah, so Quidditch is like... the way that I always describe Quidditch is they tried to make Quidditch be like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, right? Like, every card doesn't do one thing really well. It's like a little here, a little there. And it's almost always like a really small amount of damage and some effect. So see, so cobbing is like 4 damage to your opponent, then they choose a card and discard it, right? Ouch, 5 damage to your opponent, then if they have any cards, they choose one and discard it. Slytherin Steals 2 damage to your opponent, then they get rid of a card in play. Right? Fouled is like you hit them for 4 damage, and then they lose an action next turn. And that stuff's all well and good, except by the time you get to 5, some decks are already able to like combo out. So a little bit of this and a little bit of that is like, alright. But when you get ahead, you know, sometimes your opponent can't handle a little bit of this and a little bit of that. They've only got something for one thing, or they're trying to keep up. And we're able to just keep doing, the one thing about Quidditch is it's not very reactive. It's all like proactive stuff. It's like you can just cast all these on your opponent. He doesn't have to have a certain thing in play. Or you don't have to be. It's not like removal or anything like that. You know, like this. We have a couple cards. This is like, ideally, this hits a creature and your opponent, but there's no creatures out, so this is like half as good. Halloween Feast gets us creatures back, but we haven't really seen that many. I guess now our black bats are actually in there now that we've been taking damage. Gringotts Vault Key. This is a strong card. This lets us search our deck for any card, put it in our hand. So Gringotts Vault Key costs an action itself, right? But you get to find whatever you need. So usually used to set up a strong turn. Listen to my story.
Maybe our last chance.
Trying to get the Harry Potter people into Final Fantasy like subliminally. Think it's working? So, Mike here is up to 7 power, 8 power because his Comet and Hooch and 6 spells, or sorry, charms lessons. And we're trying to ramp up to Golden Snitch, right? Golden Snitch is basically your opponent has to get rid of it right away or you win. Here's the problem. Our opponent is holding 2 different cards that can try to remove the Golden Snitch on our turn. Obviously, we would take the alternate cost for picking on Neville, but Dobby's would get rid of it. As long as we sit on this Dobby, we'll be in a good spot. We played down the black bats. We got back all our black bats with the Halloween Feast, which is kind of it's kind of funny, right? Because the card has just a bunch of bats on it, and we used it to get back 3 bats and a Doxy from the discard pile. And these bats are literally flying around the Great Hall in their art, and that's what's going on here. Hey, so the black bat is coming down. And the black bat also has an ETB, where he deals 2 damage when he comes into play. And then every turn he deals 2 damage. So we're gonna go ahead and just lay our whole plan out on the table and cross our fingers. We're going to play the Phoenix Feather Wand, which provides 4 charm, which ramps us all the way up here from 8 to 11. And then we're gonna play the Golden Snitch and pass the turn. The Golden Snitch is at the end of your opponent's turn. You win the game unless your opponent has at least 10 more cards in their deck than you do. But what our opponent's about to do is just use Picking on Neville on the Golden Snitch, right? Actually, this is the smart way to do it. I hope we do it right. Yeah, okay. So Picking on Neville is get rid of that card unless your opponent discards 2 other cards. So our opponent's going to be like, yeah, no problem. I'll discard 2 lessons, right? Okay, cool. Yeah, you discarded 2 lessons. Yeah, you got it. All right, well, now I'm going to Dobby's Disappearance your Golden Snitch in your hand. Yeah, there it is. Dobby's Disappearance is choose a card and return it to their hand, and you get your action back. If this card seems like literally absurd for 4 with everything that you've been observing so far and what you think you understand about cost, you're right. This is probably the best card in the game. This card is... It makes absolutely no sense why this card costs 4 and gives you your action back. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. Actually stupid. People are like, but you don't get rid of the card, you put it in their hand. It's like, I mean, yeah, bro, but it costs them an action. And this does not cost you an action. Therefore, you are +1 action on your opponent every time you use Dobby's Disappearance. And with Dobby's Disappearance, right? So we played Picking on Neville, we played Dobby, and then we played a bat. So we effectively had a 3-action turn, and that's action advantage, baby. And that's how you win. Every game of Harry Potter is won by using actions. So if you use more actions than your opponent, you should win, right? Imagine if I just had more, like, windows of priority than you in Final Fantasy. Like, I just got more of them. Or I could get rid of some of yours, like... That seems unfair, right? I should just win. Why aren't you winning? You know, it's one of those things. Action advantage is really at the heart and soul of building a strong Harry Potter deck. Argus Filch is coming down here, and this is actually one of the 2 ways in the game that you can invest in a way to get rid of adventures. Oh no, we're actually we're discarding it. Sorry. We're using Flitwick here. We're trading 2 cards from our hand in order to get a charm powered card from our discard pile. That's his once per game action, and it's going to be Halloween Feast. We're going to use it to get back the bats again, and those bats, they really they come into play. They deal 2 damage, and they just deal 2 damage a turn as well. They tick. We have Cornish Pixie here as well, and the cool thing about that is we know that the Golden Snitch is in his hand, right? We just put it there with Dobby's disappearance. So we're gonna use this Cornish Pixie, and we're gonna be able to take that out of his hand. Yeah, the black bat's gonna come down. I am shocked here. I think this was a misplay. Oh my god, he's gonna play One Shot and Golden Snitch. No way, no way. Oh no. We know that his win condition card is in his hand, and we had a way to get back this card that let us... Oh, nope, never mind. I take it back. I take it back. I'm sorry. Morel didn't have enough lessons in play in order to play the Cornish Pixie. So that's my fault, Morel. I was just about to blast you, but it's not your... You were right. You couldn't have done it. But that sucks, because we had a card in our hand that let us, like, take a card out of his hand, and we know he has his win condition in there, but we don't have anything left in our hand that can get rid of the Golden Snitch. And our opponent would need to have 10 more cards. So we're actually about to catch the Snitch, and this is Quidditch's big, like, win condition card. Actually, Ice really needs to have something like this, by the way. Just saying. This would be really cool if Ice had, like, a win condition that they could do behind the stuff they're doing, or like that they got to at the end by slowing the game down enough. But anyway, Golden Snitch is basically rewarding you for playing a long game and for your opponent having drawn more cards than you, right? And says at the end of your opponent's turn, you win the game unless your opponent has at least 10 more cards in his or her deck than you do. If they do, they win the game instead. But yeah, so we're gonna just play some guys down. And it's not enough. The Golden Snitch has been caught here, and our opponent does not have 10 more cards in their deck. So we go to the next game. Very cool that we got to win off of the Golden Snitch. See if we can do that again. Yeah, like, it doesn't have to be a win the game condition. Well, so they tried to do that with Necron, right? Like, I thought Necron was really cool. I thought Ice needed something else like that. I don't mean a card that's like, hey, I win the game at the end of your next turn. Especially because of the way Ice freezes the things they do. Like, definitely not specifically like that. But I think that Ice, it would be cool if they had, like another thing they were working on. Like, something they were building on their side of the table, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like a solitaire strategy that isn't just attacking your opponent in their strategy, like something that's genuinely like, oh, I'm trying to, like, build my own piece. Yeah, I agree. I think he was supposed to be, I think this whole, like, Emperor thing was supposed to happen. It just didn't really happen. But that's a whole other conversation. That's a whole other card game. What do we got here for this game? Looks like Frank and his opponent are done, but they did not report. That's okay. They're in here spectating. Everybody's hanging out. We're about to watch these guys jam game 2. They are sideboarding right now, deciding what they would like to swap in and out. You missing a card there? Okay, there we go. Thumbs up. He was missing a card. Carry on. But not carry armor. Tyler, thanks for hanging out and watching some Harry Potter trading card game, by the way. Hope you're entertained. I'm here for you. Well, I'm here for everybody, but you know. I'm here for the people. I'm here to serve. Thanks, brother. Oh, a standard gentleman's game. This is the equivalent of I play backup, you play backup, then I play backup, you play backup. Like, this is the exact equivalent of the Gentleman's Open in Final Fantasy here. We're both just playing our things and oh, never mind, our opponent has swung first. Mike is just body checking, the old broomstick body check. Fouling his opponent on his way for the snitch there and making them lose an action next turn. I'm dealing 4 damage off the top. Fouled is the best Quidditch card, I think. Oh, and Slytherin Steals coming down next turn. Another lesson, and then Slytherin Steals, we know this one from earlier, deal 2 damage to the opponent, and then he's going to have to get rid of one of those lessons. And we're really establishing that action advantage that we talked about earlier, because Fouled prevented our opponent from being able to build up 2 lessons, right? You can only play 1 more. And then Slytherin Steals did him damage and made him get rid of another lesson. So he's basically like 1 full turn behind on building lessons if he wanted to just keep building. Thankfully, he's in a nice spot at 5. He's able to play all of his Black Bats and his Cornish Pixies. Black Bat, in fact, is going to be coming down here and dealing his little enter the battlefield 2 damage and swooping around for 2 damage every turn, which adds up pretty fast. Black Bat is probably one of the favorite creatures of players, just because it does have that, even if they kill it next turn, he has that 2 damage enter, so he kind of gets his value right away. Ah, thank you, players, revealing the hands. Ah, Dumbledore's Suspension. Let's go over this card. So, we see Morel siding another one of these in, and we're not surprised, because remember how I talked about how characters were untouchable in Classic? However, in Revival, there's a couple tools that you can put in your belt that can deal with the fact that Hooch is letting our opponent play the game without playing any Quidditch lessons. And Dumbledore's Suspension is one of those cards. Play this card if you have 4 lessons in play, which we now do. The effect is our opponent's starting character loses all abilities. And the way that Michael is going to solve this is he has to skip 3 actions. And the opponent's reward is that the next spell they play needs 2 less power. So there isn't really a difference here really between the 5 and 7 for spell-wise for Michael. So Sammy really doesn't mind playing this. I think Michael is actually smart here. He doesn't know what's in Sammy's hand, but he is actually kind of countering the Dumbledore Suspension right now by going to grab a broom from his deck with Hooch. I really hope he drops the broom into play, because these brooms seem to me like the only source of Quidditch power in his deck besides his starting character. And if Dumbledore's Suspension comes down and turns off the abilities of Madam Hooch, then Michael will actually be cut off from the entire Quidditch half of his deck until he skips 3 actions. And meanwhile, his Black Bat is just teeing off. And he does drop down the broom. Good to see. I mean, in general, I think he's just trying to build up. So I like going to get the broom and playing the broom, right? You want to have this preventing 1 damage during your opponent's turn. This is having the damage from this Black Bat right now. Obviously, much less effective at reducing total percentage of damage as more creatures are on the opponent's side of the field. But for now, it is reducing the damage to 1, so that's why we wanted to get it out. It's actually going to have that double effect of really helping with the Dumbledore suspension. However, Dobby's Disappearance is going to put the broom back in the hand. We get the action back, and this is why Dobby's Disappearance is a broken card. We're going to go ahead and put the broom back in his hand, get the action back, and use both of our actions to play Dumbledore Suspension. And now Hooch is in the penalty box. That's it. Quidditch is now shut off for the rest of the game. The only thing that Michael can do is start skipping actions. I don't think he has a charm spell win condition in the deck. So I think our friend Elvis the Gamer here is going to start skipping some actions right away. Oh no, he's actually going to slam out a escaping the Dursleys. I'm surprised by this. So he's going to spend his turn playing this adventure and passing. And escaping the Dursleys is going to say, basically your opponent can only play lessons unless they discard their hand. But when they do discard their hand, they can search their deck for any card in the deck. So what's going to happen is we're going to solve this immediately. Because we can't play any of these cards. And then we're just going to get another Black Bat. Right? Or maybe even a... So I think getting the Cornish Pixie is the safe play. But I think we can just make the hard read on our opponent here that he's pretty screwed. That we locked him out of Quidditch. And we can just get another Black Bat. Push. They've got bars on his window, dude. Yeah, exactly. Look at this. He's trying to grab Harry by, like, the leg. And keep him inside. Dude, this is abuse. Oh, even better, we're going to get Halloween Feast from our deck as the one card, which is, we're basically able to get some card advantage here. We're going to put 4 creatures into our hand. It's going to be 3, but that's fine. Sandstone Gargoyle, very efficient creature. Black Bat and the Doxy. We're going to go ahead and run that Gargoyle out right away. Gargoyle is coming down, and he's actually able to deal... so normally you can see here that he's a 1-2, right? But his special abilities, if your opponent doesn't have any creatures, it does 2 more damage. So it's a 3-2. And that makes this guy way above rate. Like a 3-2 for 3 is kind of gross in Harry Potter. And another Black Bat is coming down. That's 2 more damage off the top and 2 more damage every turn. And now with Black Bat and Gargoyle, right? We're looking at 7 damage a turn at the beginning of every turn. What do creatures cost? It's exactly like spells, right? So creatures cost an action, and you need to have that threshold of care magical creatures, right? Well, like plus, right? You need to have at least 1 care magical creature lesson, a total number of lessons equaling 4, and then you spend an action to play a creature. Some creatures have an additional cost. In fact, it's very popular for creatures to have an additional cost of requiring you to discard Care of Magical Creatures lessons. Like the Welsh Green Dragon. Where's the cost on them? It's in the top right corner. Okay. If this card was in a pack, right, facing like straight up, it would be in the same spot as it is with the same orientation on these cards. You see what I mean? Like if you were drafting something. Yeah, they're sideways. Also, it's just kind of funny the way that, like, things work in games, right? And like the way that people make these little conventions to display things, because like you immediately thought about Party Attack when you saw these guys get stacked up, right? But there's no such thing. He's just stacking his Black Bats. Yeah, these cards are very unique, aren't they? I guess I never really thought about that. They have like an oval border in the middle of the right side of the card, their landscape, and that's just where the art is. Just like, all right. They're very distinct creatures. I guess all the card types kind of are. Hmm. Even on locations, they put the wording on the left side of the card. Oh no, that's the same as adventures. But they have a colored border, like items. Hmm. Well, all of these creatures are doing work. I mean, now with the Doxy down, things are not looking good. 9 damage every turn, and Michael's got to try and figure out how he's going to deal with this. He did skip the 3 actions for the Dumbledore suspension, so he is free from this and did get his Quidditch back, and you see him immediately jam down the Comet 260 because he wants to make sure that he has access to Quidditch again. Does not want to fall for that twice. And is actually able to play out of control because he's ramped up from the wand here. That's going to deal 6 damage to the opponent, and then they have to discard 4 cards in their hand or discard all of them if they have less than 4. So we do see Morel losing his 2 table troubles and a transfiguration here. And look at this, we got a midair collision. This is just all these people keep crashing into each other. This is a really big payoff card for Quidditch, all the way up at 10, which is normally just like absurdly high. It deals 10 damage to your opponent, and then you choose 1 card in play of your own and discard it. Yeah, stonks, dude. You have to just ramp. Maybe we've got just like these ramp cards like Phoenix Feather Wand. Wand Shop is also does a very good job. So if you couldn't tell, Charms is the ramp color, right? This card is really, really strong for that. So Wand Shop comes down and it makes all of your charms, well, technically it makes all charms lessons double. So your opponents too, but Charms isn't played as much as other colors, so it's usually pretty one-sided. So like right now he could just go zoop, 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 and just this becomes 8. But he has the wand out, so he doesn't need that. Because we hit our opponent for 10, but our opponent's creatures are able to swing for another 9, bringing us down to 7. But here's the thing. We have the Gringotts Vault Key in our hands. So, in fact, yep, we are going to play the Gringotts Vault Key. And Elvis might be able to get out of this one. I think Dumbledore suspension only being those 3 actions, it's not so... he actually can just kind of get out of it after a turn and a half. And then put down the Comet. Our opponent didn't have like a backup Dumbledore or anything like that. We just had some creatures that were dealing that efficient creature damage over time. We have Transfiguration in the deck, but no Steel Claws to really like turn on the gas. I don't think I saw any, which is another way we could deal more damage here. But yeah, just our slow bleed gave him enough time. He's gonna ramp back up here, and he's actually searching the deck though. He does only have 7 cards left in deck. Technically, Gringotts Vault Key could get him the win if he had another, one of those like big damage items. But it looks like actually he looked at the deck, he didn't see anything left in there that could deal enough damage, and he is going to lose the next turn to the creature. So that was a really close one. That could have gone either way at the end there for sure. And now we are going into game 3. Quidditch took game 1. Didn't quite get there in game 2. Creatures doing creature things got there in game 2. Creatures doing creaturey things as they do. I'm gonna refill my water, guys. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back with my water. Let's see what we got here. We've got escaping the Dursleys down nice and early and big full hands. Okay, excellent. So looks like we had just the old one lesson hand, and even with mulligans in revival, that is surprising. So we saw only one lesson come down, and then obviously we had to start drawing cards. And when you see your opponent immediately using cards or using actions to draw cards on turn one, that is the big red flag that they are in trouble. That is like they overpaid for something turn one, and it wasn't even like I don't even know, it wasn't even a good backup. But still, it's not quite equivalent, but you know what I mean. Like, this is just it's just like, wow, that's a bad start. So why not punish the hell out of it? We're gonna go ahead and play an Escaping the Dursleys, and Escaping the Dursleys is going to make it so that our opponent can't use actions to do anything that aren't lessons. And we already know they have no lessons in their hand, right? So it's basically going to say that for 2 actions we can discard our opponent's entire hand and let them search your deck for 1 card. And of course it's going to be a lesson, right? Because he needs them desperately. So that's probably the absolute best case scenario for an Escaping the Dursleys. That is a power play there. To play it when you notice your opponent, that is the maximum punish for your opponent already having a really bad start. Right? Basically just discarded his entire hand. So Michael is in an excellent position already. And like you said, Tyler, how Quidditch wants to just kind of get ahead, stay ahead. Yeah, Quidditch loves being in this position, right? I mean, like, look at this. Look at that. Yeah, this is gross. So, alright, well, let's see. How can I follow up the fact that I just made you discard your entire hand and use your second action to draw a card? Well, I'll just hit you with a fouled. So you'll draw a card off the top of your deck for your turn. He uses an action to draw a card. That's it. That's the turn. Wait. Why did we, Wait, hold on. Yeah, they caught it. They caught it. All right. Frank says he got it. Or are they, oh, they're all in chat together. Hey, I'm just doing my my job here, judging, right? Yeah, we got hit with fouls, and we don't have 2 actions to use, right? So yeah, we actually are getting pretty lucky here with our top decks on Morel's side of things. He hits another lesson, and he hits a black bat. Elvis is just ramping. He wants to get to the snitch. And honestly, his opponent's going to be in the kind of situation where they're going to be milling through the top cards of their deck with actions to find Dobby's disappearance or table trouble in order to get rid of the golden snitch. So I think it's time to drop it right now, right? He's going to Phoenix Feather Wand. He's going to play the golden snitch. And we might just see him catch the snitch twice in one night. Oh, we just may. We just may. We got Dobby's! That's disgusting. We top deck Dobby's disappearance. I mean, this only buys us a turn. But that is... Oh my god, no, because... Oh no, we don't have Charmers for the Firecrackers. We have Charms, we don't have 6. Oh wow. Wow, if we could Dobby and Firecrackers him, that would have been disgusting. But we're only able to Dobby get up to 6, but not quite play the Firecracker. And now he is able to, of course, play Golden Snitch again. Dobby only bought us at 1 turn. That's kind of wild, though, because Dobby's disappearance is restricted to 1 in Revival, so we drew, like, the single copy of Dobby's in our deck. Now we need Table Trouble off the top. Table Trouble off the top. We got 1 more chance to draw Table Trouble. Next one, draw a card. No! Oh my god, no! No, 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 no. Why would we use purple Firecrackers? We already lose. We can't stop the snitch. So we needed to draw 1 more card. Oh wait, never mind. Oh my god, duh. He had Caught in his hand. Guys, I'm sorry, I'm not paying any attention. Caught is sitting here in his hand. I don't know why I thought this was a like Rose Growth thing. He can choose a card and discard it, and the only way that your opponent can stop it is by discarding 4 cards from their hand. And he hit him with the it's actually kind of perfect. He hit him with the Firecrackers to get rid of 3 cards from his hand, and then uses Caught, and that's gonna get rid of the snitch. Nice Kingdom Hearts music category Disney confirmed. I would be so mad. I just put on Square Enix Lo-Fi, bro. If I could delete all of the Kingdom Hearts and just replace it with more Final Fantasy music, I would. The music's not bad, but I mean, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 are really good games. That's where they stopped being good games. But that's a conversation for another stream, boys. Alright, so we Gringotts Vault Keyed, and we got another Golden Snitch. So now we have played our 3rd Golden Snitch. And we're really making Morel just think on his feet here and find a way to get out of this every turn. So he just had the combo that even I didn't see coming. He had the Bewitched, not Bewitched Snowballs, Purple Firecrackers, and Caught combo. But now, unfortunately, it looks like he's just drawing a card off the top of his deck. He's got the Rose Growth, but that's not quite it. I guess Rose Growth cantrips, like it draws you a card, so it's the same as using an action to your next card. But now that's it, because we did not find Table Trouble. That's what we're looking for. We really want Table Trouble. It'll discard our opponent's Wand and Snitch and Combat 260, and we're playing at least 2 of them. Table Trouble would have really helped us out here, but unfortunately we just didn't see it. And Elvis, or Michael as he is, catches the snitch a 2nd time and wins the game, as usually catching the snitch happens to do. So we move on to round 3 tonight, which is going to be whoever won from the other table. 150 points, that's right. Maybe that's why we never got like a proper Quidditch game, because the rules make no goddamn sense. Wow, look at how deep he's going for table trouble. There it is. There it is. Table trouble was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cards away. Yikes. This would have really been nice though. Just get rid of all the items. I asked for results and Frank tells me the results of the other table before he tells me his results. Alright, let's get this up. 2-0, 2-0. I edited it. Yeah, 2-0, got you. Alright. Round 3. An error sound. Alright, I'm gonna do that right now, guys. I'm muting the old system sound so you guys will never experience this problem again. It's been how many weeks in a row before I finally did this? Alright. We did it. Eventually people will get so good at catching the snitch the matches last 30 seconds. Oh, I mean, they can make it difficult. I think the snitch doesn't even, like, in the Game Boy game, it's not even, like, catchable until a certain threshold of time. Like, you're mostly not allowed to play as the Seeker, you know? Alright, so we've got Frank versus Michael. Not a Michael Diaz versus Frank Diaz matchup, but Michael. He is aka Elvis, the game collector, playing his Hooch Quidditch deck. Very neat. Catching the snitch to win. Meanwhile, Frank is doing some kind of creature stuff. We didn't actually get a very close look, but we know it's McGonagall creatures. I think I saw some Streelers. And I'm all about finding out what's going on in this next match. Let's get a sneak peek at the beta untap layout. This is their new layout. I guess they're getting rid of the chat rooms, which makes sense, right? There's just gonna be games down here, so I have it filtered by Harry Potter, right? Like, so just like this now. See, are people playing Final Fantasy? The number, I wonder. How many users like total are online right now? Alright, we're watching the Dobby Lobby, guys. Here we are. Let's get the player names up. Tyler, what kind of keyboard do you have? My keyboard is going after all this time. I need to get a new one. I don't want to just blindly get the next Black Widow. I feel like I want to ask people what they're using. Give him some socks, dude. Yeah, Dobby. So, oh, Tyler, you ready for my joke? Do you know why Dobby's disappearance gives you back your action? Because Dobby's a free elf, dude. Dobby is free! Alright, so speaking of how we talked about how Black Bat has that enter the battlefield effect and is a very efficient creature, we also talked about why McGonagall is a powerful starting character, right? How she provides transfiguration, which means you don't have to run any transfiguration lessons, and it's a very strong splash color. I talked about how transfiguration has the strongest kill spell in the game for creatures, right? And I talked about her powerful once per game ability. Well, check it out. Everything that we talked about is coming up here in the finals in Frank's deck. McGonagall is his starting character. He used that to get to a curve where he's able to play Black Bat on turn 2, right? Because he already had 1. So turn 1, he goes Lesson, Lesson. Turn 2, Lesson, Black Bat. Black Bat is already dealing 2 damage on the way in. Wow! Very cool here. So Frank notices again, just like how Elvis punished his opponent for having a slower start last game. Frank notices his opponent is having a slower start and drawing extra cards. So Frank plays Grip Hook. Grip Hook is a powerful additional character. It costs 2 actions to play, but Grip Hook has a once per game ability that does not require an action. You may make your opponent discard their hand, and then they draw as many cards as they discarded in that way. So Frank basically just makes he makes Mike dump his hand and draw a fresh 10. Just does basically Frank spent 2 actions to deal 10 damage to his opponent. And the fact that he did that on turn 3 is pretty gross, right? So he hit him for 10. Yeah, he made him discard 10 and draw 10 more, right? Then he's got the Black Bat, dead 2 already when he entered, and he's dealt 2 again in the Grip Hook turn, right? So Frank has already dealt 14 damage to his opponent, and it's on the 3rd turn. Wow, this is actually... Oh, never mind, it's card in hand. I was gonna say, if this is the thing where he has to discard a card in play, Frank easily discards the Grip Hook, right? Because then he can use it again. So now, oh my god, look, Frank's hand is just so full of gas. Alright, so he has Peeves. Peeves makes both players discard their hand and draw 7. Right? Steel Claw is the card I was talking about. That's the Transfiguration spell. That's the very, very powerful creature damage spell. It makes all your creatures just deal their damage again to their opponent, right? And then Frank played an Adventure. Hagrid needs help. Remember how we talked about action, how action advantage was really, really strong and really important? Well, enter Hagrid Needs Help, the best adventure for aggro creature decks. The effect is your opponent gets 1 fewer action on each of their turns, even the turn that they solve Hagrid Needs Help. Okay? And in order to solve it, they have to take 8 damage. So, your opponent, no matter what, Mike gets 1 less action on his turn. And if he would like to solve Hagrid Needs Help, he has to take 8 damage. And yeah, yes, exactly, Tyler. Yes, Tyler, you understand. You're learning. The reward is sometimes you deal 11 damage. Haggard Needs Help is the kind of card you're gonna have to solve it immediately, right? Because you don't want to lose 2 actions to him, or he ends up being like free, right? Your opponent spent 2 actions to play him. But what this is this card is very, very good at keeping your opponent treading water, right? Because they have to, it's like just, there's all these holes in the boat. They have to do something about Haggard Needs Help, but they also have to do something about the fact that Black Bat's hitting them and they got grip hooked already, and they're already down to less than a third of the cards in their deck, like a third of their total health, right? They're in the red health already. It's turn like 6, and things are starting to get real scary. But we are able to jam out these Charms lessons, so we get to Slytherin Steals. We're going to do 2 damage to our opponent, but this is, Frank loves this shit. This is almost, I wouldn't use this against him. 2 damage to your opponent, and then your opponent has any cards in play, they choose one and discard it. Well, Frank's just going to discard Grip Hook, because this is a once per game ability, but, well, he's just going to go ahead and play another Grip Hook. I feel like having a big hand doesn't really matter in this game. You can only play 2 things a turn anyway. Drawing cards seems sus. Well, Tyler, I counter that with another point. A couple points, actually. First of all, there's an infinite kill combo that kills you if you have less than 4 cards in your hand. Now, you'll know if your opponent's playing the colors that are required for it, but there's literally a win condition for if your opponent tries to play the game with no cards in their hand, right? B, okay, Frank's got 3 cards in his hand, but he only draws 1 card a turn, but he has 2 actions. So unless he has a card on the table that gives him a way to invest his actions neutrally, right, or proactively every turn, he's gonna always have to get to a spot where he's using actions to draw cards. And using 1 action to draw 1 card is like the most inefficient use of an action, right? So drawing cards is actually great, but drawing cards to the point where you start taking damage is bad. So think about drawing cards like taking damage in Final Fantasy TCG, right? Taking damage until you take the 7th damage is like potentially really, really helpful. Like sometimes a free resource, right? Sometimes, hey, you know, I'm buying all this time, my opponent's doing stuff and it's not really doing anything to me yet, right? He's just like, sometimes he's even giving me free cards. Like sometimes drawing all these cards, taking all this damage, sometimes putting cards in your discard pile even just lets you access them in other ways, right? It's like, but yeah, forced draw is also a way to kill your opponent, as we're watching Peeves get used here by Frank. Peeves is another once per game. You both discard your hand and draw 7, but that's basically going to be the old 7 damage here to Michael, right? And now he's down to even lower. He's down to 6 cards left in deck. He's going to draw for turn. And he just doesn't have time to catch the snitch anymore, right? Frank's calling the shots, dude. These bats are flying around the field. Peeves is fucking shit up. Like, it's just, it's it's a mess out here on the Quidditch pitch. Hagrid needs help. Dude, look at him. He's like, Harry, I need you to stop playing Quidditch and get over here. Please. And this second Hagrid needs help now. We can't solve this or we lose, right? So we just have like 1 less action on our turn, and like, how are we supposed to win, right? I mean, this is, Frank has this one, and we're going to game 2, I think, here. I'd be interested to see if Michael has any kind of like early game, you know, it's just like a little bit of damage to a creature, just some like low level creature hate that could hit the bats early. Just kind of some way to slow things down here. But this is another example, Tyler. Remember how you said Quidditch feels like, it feels a little bit like the ice deck, where you want to get ahead and stay ahead and kind of deny your opponent from doing things. Now, this was a very unorthodox method of that, but this felt a lot better at doing that, didn't it? This sure seemed like it was a lot more efficient and effective, right? It turns out that's the thing, right? That's how it is. Oh, Frank is actually moving Deboning to play to show us here. This is another really, really powerful reason to play McGonagall. This card is very cool. It stops your opponent from playing cards. They can't use actions to play cards. Frank actually, never mind, did he just use that? There's no way. No, he just showed him. Got the gargoyle and the bat down. He's getting hit with an ouch. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, you know, technically, Tyler, drawing a ton of cards if your opponent can't do anything to you at all is real good, right? Sometimes you can even turn cards into actions with things like Seamus, but it's when your opponent is smashing you in the face, so drawing cards isn't very good, and sometimes your opponent can use drawing cards as a win condition to force you to lose. There's actually like 2 or 3 different ways to make your opponent force draw to lose, but that's just, you know, that's because it's a form of damage. It's not just milling. It's like literally how you deal damage, you know, so there's a lot more cards that complement that strategy. We're sideboarding here, I think. But yeah, Tyler, you're right that you don't want to have like a big hand just for the sake of it, right? Like you want to have a big hand with a purpose and a plan, or you really just want to have just enough to get by. Alright, we're shuffling up. I don't know, oh yeah, no, they both sideboarded, okay. I was gonna say, I don't know that they both even switched cards. Wow, this is gasoline for Frank. Delivery L, interesting choice, Frank. Raw card, wow, what? This card's actually very good. Oh, this is a revival card. Oh no, this is a base set card. It's just re-scanned. But Frank is ramping up to gargoyles at this point. Yeah, next turn he's dropping a double gargoyle deuce. Oh no, escaping the Dursley's is in play. Just kidding. He's actually going to play 2 more lessons. And then he's going to solve this and go get a Welsh Green Dragon, dude, I bet. Watch. Right? So, escaping the Dursleys, we're trying to do the thing that we did the other game where we got maximum value of an early escaping the Dursleys where our opponent had to discard their hand. But remember how we talked about how escaping the Dursleys was the maximum punish for our opponent having a really bad start? The thing is, if you play an escaping the Dursleys blind against your opponent early like this, your opponent might actually just have a very, very good start. Your opponent might actually just have a ton of lessons in their hand. In which case, what they're going to do is they're going to ignore escaping the Dursleys, they're going to play a bunch of lessons down, and then they're going to use it to go get the perfect play. But actually, Frank is deciding that he's just going to turn on the gas. He's going to use McGonagall to get out of escaping the Dursleys. Remember how we talked about how powerful her ability is? And that's going to open up his entire turn so he can use both of his actions. He's going to just go ahead and play Marble and Sandstone Gargoyle. So we saw Sandstone Gargoyle last game, right? Where he does damage. It's supposed to be 1, but if your opponent has no creatures, it becomes 3. Well, Marble Gargoyle is like his dad, dude. This is his big brother. This guy's a 2/3, but he's actually dealing 5 damage a turn if your opponent does not have a creature. 5 damage! That's 8 just with these two. Isn't that nuts? Want to feel old? Final Fantasy X came out in 2000. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, yeah, it doesn't make me feel that old. I remember playing it in like middle school, or, like as like a little kid, you know. I mean, yeah, I guess, you know, it's crazy that that's that long ago. You know what? That just makes me feel sad, bro. I'm like, you want to know the last time Square Enix made a good RPG? It was 2000. That's not true. You know why? Because they made Octopath Traveler and Bravely Default. The last time they made a good Final Fantasy game. But, you know, again, another time, another cast, another show, another day. Dude, it's because it took them 10 years to make 13 and 10 years to make 15, and it's because of the same reason. Because they decided that it was more important to make a brand new video game engine than, I guess, just use Unreal or something. So they spent all this time over developing an engine, and then they moved to the next generation. Oops. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's just, they spend no time like making the game. Alright, this might be a skip. Look, near, nothing wrong with near. But anything with like lyrics in it, I'm really not trying to get the old DMCA slap. Dude, even Kingdom Hearts used to be like just the right amount of silly complicated. And now it's like annoying amounts of silly complicated. But again, I could speak for like 10 hours on my feelings of the evolution of Square Enix RPGs. But today we're just going to talk about Delivery All. Delivery All, this is very cool. So Tyler, you were actually talking earlier about how drawing cards feels sus. Now, I will agree with you that observation has a really strong foundation based in the fact where you're like, hey, drawing cards can be bad for me. That's like a really good realization to have, right? But then there's like the next level where you learn, just like in Final Fantasy, it's like, hey, taking damage is bad, but like, actually my life is just another resource, right? So it's like, yeah, drawing cards is bad, but only if you lose, right? So what we like to do here at the Dark Mark is we just like to draw cards and win. I know, I mean, you know, right? Obviously. Sounds easy when you say it like that. But, I mean, we're not afraid to draw cards. You know, we just assume that in a deck where we're going to be drawing the cards, we're going to make sure it's worth it. Right? So Frank actually gets a Delivery Owl here as an early creature that's just going to sit there and help him draw an extra card every turn. It's going to make sure that a low curve, low to the ground creature deck is still going to have the gas to do what it needs to do and to use cards like Seamus Finnegan every turn. Since they did take away the best draw engine in Revival. Oh, R.I.P. Ginny Weasley, you're so broken. Peeves is going to come down, and Peeves is once per game you may discard, of course, and both players draw 7. Dude, the end of 7 Remake was more Kingdom Heartsy than 15 was. But yeah. You're not wrong. "15 is just so funny, dude. It's one of those things where Arden's like, guess who I really am? And then says his real name, and you're like, I don't if this was supposed to like mean something to me, it's lost on me at this point, dude. Like this, I don't even know where we're going in this game. Cobbing, dude. Why is every Quidditch card just like people beating the shit out of each other while playing Quidditch? This is like the 3rd or 4th card today where it's just like, You're optimistic? I'm not. They've literally already revived a character that is like the entire purpose of this character is to die. It ruins everything. Alright. The gargoyle has 2 damage on him. Unlike Final Fantasy, the damage stays like forever. This guy's just like damaged. Right, so eventually if we're able to deal 1 more damage to him, we'll kill him. We had one of those Quidditch spells that does a little bit here, a little bit there. It's enough to kill the little gargoyle, but the marble gargoyle, he's a chunky boy. He's got that 3 health naturally, so he's just living his best life, reaching out to just hold your hand there. And that art, lovely art. I love this game's art, really, I do.
I've been having these weird thoughts lately.
Look at this. Look at Hagrid. Look at him. Look at him. Like, you wouldn't help this guy. He looks like he needs so much help. He needs so much help. He needs all the help. Looks like Frank is going to gorge. Frank is going to use Dobby's disappearance to return his opponent's card to the hand. What did we return? Oh my god, we bounced his Hagrid Needs Help back to his hand. So he played Hagrid Needs Help for 2 actions, right? To try and to get us back with the same thing, right? But what Frank did was Frank just used Dobby's disappearance to put it back in his hand and get his action back, and then used his action to play a lesson and passed. So he basically just went +1 lesson and made his opponent, he time walked him. Look, he just did the same thing. He's like, okay, well, I guess I'll spend this turn doing the exact same thing, playing another Hagrid Needs Help. And this time Frank's probably gonna respond with Peeves. He drew a Hagrid Needs Help. He doesn't have the 2 actions though because of this Hagrid. I think, oh, he's actually going to draw the card. Very interesting. I mean, maybe we're just hanging on to Peeves until our opponent's in the kill range. We don't want to spend it too soon. Our opponent doesn't have any healing, though, which has kind of been a theme tonight. We haven't seen a single Snape, a single Pomfrey. Those are the 2 most popular healing choices. And not really any potions at all, and potions is the only color that has healing spells, so... Another ouch. 5 damage to the opponent and get rid of one of those cards in your hand that you can't use anyway. Yeah, we'll get rid of one of the dragons. That's fine. Now Frank looks like he's just not taking the Hagrid Needs Help damage. Like he's just gonna chill. Because he knows the 5 damage from the gargoyle next turn plus Peeves is a kill. So he's like, that's fine, whatever. I'll just live at Hagrid's. Now, we used Fouled on him, but he still gets his action because Hagrid Needs Help and Fouled both explain that you still get your action. And Frank's going to use Peeves. So they're both just going to discard and draw 7, and then the Gargoyle is going to hit him in the face anyway. But yeah, Fouled and Hagrid Needs Help both say that if your opponent would get fewer than 1 action, they still get 1 action. So you can't like double up on it like that. And that's it. That's GG. That's a game for Frank. The Gargoyle is absolutely getting there. I mean, 5 damage a turn is a lot. Those are Paul numbers, like you said, Tyler, you know? These guys are absolutely just chewing through their deck. We saw the effectiveness of strategies like Hagrid Needs Help, low curve creatures, and just the ability to remove and slow down our opponent's strategy here. So, congratulations to Frank for taking it this week with McGonagall creatures. And we definitely got to shout out this Catch the Snitch Quidditch Charms deck from Mike here. Very, very cool. With Hooch. Let's see if table 2 is still going on before we wrap things up for the evening. I mean to get back to doing more of the late night, like the additional streams, guys. Like the speedrun stuff. I just all of a sudden I'm like moving to North Carolina, so my room is actually a shit show right now of like boxes of me like sorting everything I own out into boxes, and you know, all that stuff. So I'm trying to spend my extra free time being productive about all of that, so that I'm not. I want some like peace of mind the week that I have to do it, right? I don't want to just like do it all at once. So. But I promise, especially once we move, oh boy, we'll be streaming left and right, boys. We're gonna have a nice setup. I can't wait. I can't wait, Tyler. You're gonna love it. We'll get a big, maybe we'll get a big Paul face. We'll just put it in the background. What the hell is that sound, dude? Dude, somebody's doing fireworks outside. Okay. Just, you know, Tuesday night, woo! I gotta get a bowl cut. Oh no, dude. I don't know about that. Just the Paul cut. Just God forbid anybody in the state of North Carolina sees me. Alright, let's see what's going on at table 2 for round 3, our final round. This is Morel versus Carter. Carter got, oh, that's actually a pretty good deck. And there's a palm tree that we were talking about not seeing all night. It's a pretty good deck. Obviously, everybody here is playing something pretty good. I just mean, this is his first time playing with us tonight, so you never know what you're going to see. But seeing the additional Pomfrey in the deck, seeing the McGonagall starter, picking on Neville, I like the Pixies and the Bats. We've got some just efficient creature, low-ish curve stuff, with also that mid-range burn from some of the charm spells, that removal from Trans, and some of the more controlling adventures. I do really like this. I like where our head's at, Carter. A+. I don't know if you watch these videos, if you're going to start, but aces. I like the track that we're on here. Oh, we do have the old Dumbledore suspension though. Just gonna put that plug in all of your transfiguration spells, unless you deal with this. Skipping 3 actions. Oh wait, actually, we just scooted it off the table. Is that what happened? Did we skip all 3 of the actions? Is that what that was about? It looks like we're a whole bunch of actions behind our opponent, so we might have just skipped 3 actions to solve that adventure there. Oh, I think we just scooped it up. And they wrapped up, guys. Looks like that is it. We are all done here for Wizarding Wars number 22. Thank you so much for stopping by. Tyler, Cody, all you guys, Clinton, hanging out in chat. Everybody watching this later. I'd like to thank the Dark Mark team and the Harry Potter Revival Discord as always. Guys, appreciate hanging out with you Tuesday night for a little casual Harry Potter TCG. We'll be back tomorrow with some competitive Final Fantasy trading card game at the usual time, 7 o'clock. Here to do the thing. We're going to be having a great time tomorrow night. I'm ready, man. I'm ready to feel that energy. That Final Fantasy Wednesday night energy. Tyler, you ready to lose all your channel points, baby? Let's do it. I can't wait. But that's it for us tonight, guys. So thank you for tuning in. We are signing off. We'll see you next time.